Good morning everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. It is Monday morning, it is about 5 o'clock. Just kind of wanted to show you guys today how we go about milking the cows and how you get the milk that you buy in a store. So at least the farm frontage part, I wanted to show you that. Obviously I don't know anything that goes on in a milk processing plant, but I can at least show you what goes on in the farm that makes the milk that goes to a plant that you buy from the grocery store. So the first thing I will do in the morning is I will fill this sink with hot water. This is boiler water, and this hose right here is cold water. So I'll fill that with hot water, and then I'll add a couple pumps of acid. Usually 3, and I'll let you see that's very pink stuff, so you can tell that it's in there. We need to get it out of the barrel pretty well. And what will happen is I'll fill the sink and then I'll come over here, and this thing right here is pretty much like the motherboard of the whole milking system. So you turn it on here to wash and on here to milk. The only difference is that when you turn it on to wash, you have to have this little plunger in because it redirects the flow of the water. And you pull it out to milk, because out to milk, and it'll redirect the flow into the tank. So the only other difference would be that this little thing up here that says air injector injects air into the line when you turn it on to wash, but not when you turn it on to milk. I think it's just supposed to add like an extra burst of cleaning power, so that only works when it's on wash and not on milk. So I will turn this on to wash this morning, and what's going to happen is these hoses, these rubber hoses that are in here, have a suction end on them. You can see it open on the end and open on the sides. And what that does is it will suck all the water and the acid from the sink. It will run it up through these 2 metal bars that are attached to all the milking machines. The milking machine's attached to them by this rubber, call them cup holders, and you stick each of the machine's inflations into there. So there's 24 of them because there's 6 machines. You stick them all into there, and you just hang up the pulsators up there, and you hang up the milk hose line up there. So what's going to happen is when you turn on your wash, it's going to suck the water through these rubber hoses, up through this bar, up through the machines, into the bowl on the machine, up through this pipeline, all the way out into the barn. See all the pipeline in the barn. It's about 175 foot barn, so there's about 300 feet of pipeline. And the metal line is milk line, and the plastic PVC line is the air line. So it will suck it all the way out through the barn, and then it's going to come into this receiving jar. And these 2 little probes here, one is for milk, you can see that labeled right there, and one is for wash. So when you have that on wash, this probe right here, your wash is going to go all the way up until it hits the bottom of that shorter probe, and then it's going to trigger this machine to pump that wash out through this pipe onto the floor and out to the drain. But first I will put this in the sink, just so that it pumps back over into the sink and circulates some warm water for a while, just to make sure that it's really clean inside the line. So while that sink is filling, I'll explain to you how a machine works. Okay, so put my machine off here so you can see it. We have 6 of these machines in our tie stall barn. A parlor situation is going to be much different than this. This is only a tie stall barn situation. So this is a machine. This hose right here is where the milk goes through, and this hose right here is where the air goes through. This thing right here is called a pulsator, and it just controls the airflow. You hook it up to a spot on the PVC pipeline, and it controls the airflow for how this machine is going to suck on a cap. This right here you're going to hook to the milk pipeline, and it just slides up in like that. Slides down. These are exactly like the ones that are out in the barn. On the machine you have your plastic bowl, which hooks into your metal claw. Your metal claw has 4 little receiving things on it where you stick these 8 hoses. 4 of them are air hoses and 4 of them are milk hoses. The milk hose is called an inflation, and these are just called, air hoses are just called air hoses. Pretty simple. And each inflation has a metal shell on it just to protect it from a cow kicking it off and stepping on it. And it has a spot to hang it up, because in the tie stall barn we hang them up above the cows. If you're not milking, or if you're waiting to wash a cow maybe, when you do that. And this button controls the suction on the machine. So when it's out, it's not sucking, and when it's in, it is sucking and ready to milk. Some suck front to back, some suck side to side. I believe ours do all at the same time. So that's pretty much it for the machines and how the wash runs. And I'm going to run the wash, and I'll get back to you guys when I start putting it together to start milking. I've just shut the wash off and drained all the water out. So the next step would be to be getting the milk run ready to milk. So there's several things you need to do to get it ready to milk, to change it over from the washing system to the milking system. My boss already took the pipe and the elbow off of this. So now I'm going to take this long spring. It goes inside the milk line. What you're going to do is grab one of these 24 by 2 1/4, I think, inline milk filters. You're going to put the spring down in there and just kind of twist it, tap it in, and that's how the milk gets filtered. So I'm going to stick it inside this pipe and tap it in. And then I'm going to grab the 45-degree elbow and a clamp. Stick that on there. Clamp it up tight. Try to make sure it's as straight as I can. I'm going to move this over. I'll move over so you can see. I'm going to move this over this pipeline and right here. So right here, you can see we have this adapter that goes from a 2-inch to 1.5 inch and fits down inside the tank. And then I'm going to grab a gasket, stick that on top. Find my other, here it is, another clamp. Put my milk line in there, make sure it's good and straight. And then I'm going to clamp that on. It's kind of hard to do because I always do it from the other side. Because I'm short, so I'm standing on a 5-gallon cup. Tighten that one up. Retighten the one that you put on the elbow. Make sure these corner ones are nice and tight. And then I'm going to head over here, pull this plunger out because it has to be out to milk. So all you do is flick this little handle back, pull it out till you see the notch, click it in so that can't go in now. And then we're going to turn this drain valve to the off position. Then I'm going to unhook all the machines just by, it's easiest if you do it with 2 hands. You can do it with one, but it's kind of hard on the teacup holders. You just pull it sideways. Pull them out. Pull it sideways. Pull them out. So I'm going to do that with all 24 of those. I like to just hold on to it with 2 fingers and then pull it out. And there, that's all set to milk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this filter and then I'll slide this one off, put it over my shoulder, that machine over my shoulder, another one, put that one over the same shoulder, grab a third one, and put that one over. Carry 3 at a time. I go down, I hang them up in between the cows, and then I come back for the other 3 and I do the same thing, and then we'll turn on the milk pump. We might have a little bit of a coffee break. We'll turn on the milk pump, we'll go shut those valves like we had to with the wash, and then I'll show you how we wash the cows and get them ready to milk. The cows are in. And they're ready for their cornmeal. So there's this little hook. I'm going to take the machine and take the hook on the end of the machine and hook it over that. And then I'm going to take my milk line. I'm gonna push it up with my thumb because it fell down. And I'll slide it down on there. And then I typically just hook up this hook so that it doesn't suck. Because a lot of these things that you hook them to are kind of old, so they slide down a lot and they suck a lot and just kind of annoying, so I'll hook that up so it doesn't suck. And then I take the pulsator, and since the milk machine isn't on, so it's not sucking, I can't hang up the pulsator. So I'll just take it and I'll chuck it over the line. So that's what it's going to look like in between every cow. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. I'll put one there, and one there, and one there. Get the cart that we carry all our milking supplies in. I'll bring that down there, and we usually just roll that along with us when we get going. It carries our iodine and our towels, and we lean the hoe up against it so we can hoe out the cows if they crap while we're milking. And it carries a few extra things like some liniment and some bag balm. Yeah, just some things that you might need. Drain plugs and such. So this is the cart. It has just milk crates attached to it. There's the cart. So here's where we keep our iodine. It's a little low. I gotta put some more in. It's just the Gill Outer Wash Low Acid Iodine Concentrate. You mix it with water. It's 1 3/4% iodine, and then it has some phosphoric acid, some glycerin, and some sulficants in it. So you just mix it with like lukewarm water and mix it up pretty strong. We mix it pretty strong. You can use a dip cup. The cows that are really dirty, we will dip them first, and how you do that is you would take this cup, and it would be full of iodine, and you would just dip their teat up into it, and then you would wait for about 20 seconds until it loosened up some of that crap that was on there, and then you would take one of these towels, wipe them off real good like that, wipe every one of them, and then I would usually take, it's okay Greta, I would usually take like a squirt out of each quarter, just so they let down a little bit. Sometimes their teat is still open after you milk them and they get a little bit of like dirt in there and stuff. So I just make sure that I get that out with the first few strips of milk, so I'm not putting that into the milk line, because that's kind of unnecessary to do that. There's the bale that we're gonna feed them. There's my boss. He probably just saw me talking to y'all and he's like, man, she's not even doing anything. So I will carry the rest of these machines down, and then when I'm ready, I will just turn this dial off is the middle, just so you know, and then I will turn it on to milk. Make sure that these are closed because sometimes these do slip down when these are gone. Take those machines down like I said, and then the milk room is all ready. So also one more thing, if you watched any of my other videos you will know this already, but this thing right here runs the milk tank, runs the milk tank beaters. So basically what that means is, in order to cool the milk, you have to churn it to make sure that all the milk is an even temperature. And the milk tank used to have that as a built-in feature, but it ended up breaking. It broke several times after we fixed it, and we just got sick and tired of fixing it, so we moved away from the tank entirely and bought this thing, which runs those beaters separate from the tank, because the tank is very old. It's a 70s, I believe, tank, so which right here just runs the milk tank. You off is down and up is on. And then we have the compressors that just, they cool the Freon that goes into the tank, and the Freon is just in a thin layer up until here, I think, on the tank, just all the way around the tank, so that's what cools it. These pipes go into it, and those are what cools it. This used to be the old vacuum unit for the tank, because the tank used to be a vacuum unit of itself. This stuff here wasn't here, this vacuum tank over here wasn't here. We have a Bomatic vacuum system. So how that works is this big GE motor will turn on, and it has some belts on the back that run it. And it will suck this little plate into it, and that's what creates our vacuum, so you can put the pulsators on. So I believe that is everything. I'll show you how I turn these on. You just flick it up and hold it, and then let go. And that's what starts the milk churning. So if I take this lid off, you can see the paddles in there churning. Lots of good milk. Today is pickup day on a small farm like ours that doesn't ship much milk. We have the milk truck pick up every other day. A lot of farms now are so big, mostly parlor farms, that they have the milk picked up every day because they have so much. They just can't handle it, so I'll turn that off for now. So yeah, that's pretty much everything, I believe. Believe that's everything. Here, the surge motor right here just runs the pump. So this will kick on until this to turn on, and that turns on, and that pumps the milk from this receiving jar into the tank through that filter we put in. Yeah, and those are just, and these up here are just 1/2 horsepower DC motors that run the beaters, and I believe that's everything in here. We have a fire extinguisher, which obviously is very dirty. This is the milk portal where the milk truck driver is supposed to put the milk hose through to get the milk from the tank, but he does not. So how they would do that would be, they would take off this and they would hook their own system to it, which has just a thing that screws onto this. They would open this valve, which lets the milk come through. And they have a big motor on their truck, I'm guessing, that just sucks the milk into their truck. So that happens every other day, like I said. And usually when it's pickup day, we wash the tank. And we'll make sure that's good and clean for the next milkings that you put in. So we have 4 milkings in there, 2 days. That night that he picks up is in there, and then the morning, and then the night, and then the morning, and then they pick up. So that's how that goes. The cows are very hungry. I have to feed them. I've got their cornmeal all ready right here. So I'll push that up. It should be fun because they like to stick their head in it when I go up through. Especially Greta. She's a pain in the butt. So I'll just push it past her. And so how I would do this is I would usually park in between 5 cows. And if they're a really good cow, I'll give them a big scoop. They give a lot of milk and a little more. And if they're not, I'll just give them a big scoop. So I'll give her a big scoop, and her a little more, and her a big scoop, and her a little more. And then I'll give this one, she's a dry cow, not milking, I'll just give her a little bit. She's pregnant. So we used to feed grain, but we don't anymore. It just got so expensive and it didn't pencil out to make any sense. So we stopped feeding grain and we started just feeding cornmeal. And so far they haven't dropped. We have a 50-pound average with no grain. The only other thing they get besides cornmeal would be in the morning they get minerals, just to make sure that they're healthy and have fertility so that they can get bred back. Because that's really important when you're not feeding grain, because grain does have minerals and stuff in it. So you want to feed a mineral if you're not feeding grain. We feed that daily, we feed it in the morning, and we just get this from our local grain store. It's a lactating mineral. It has calcium, salt, magnesium, phosphorus, iodine, copper, all your vitamins, selenium, and just stuff like that. We just put it in a pail, and we use, I think this is either 1/3 of a cup or 1/4 of a cup. We just round that right over and give that to them in the morning. Just go around the barn and give that to everybody. Just kind of dump it in front of them and then lap it off to the ground. Hi Greta. Greta like absolutely loves the camera. I don't know why. Hi Greta. So yeah, that's what we feed them. Keeps them in good condition, really healthy. They get bred back easy, and we haven't had any trouble with it. So that's what we do. Also, real quick, out here is where we keep our sawdust. It's undercover. We just back the truck up to that dumping station. We dump it off onto this concrete pad, and we push it into this building, and we just get it as we need it. And you have to bed the stalls by hand with a shovel, and we do have a sawdust cart, so that makes it easier, but pretty much everything in a tie stall barn is done by hand, so that's probably why nobody really uses them anymore. But I actually prefer milking in a tie stall barn. I milked in 2 parlors, and I absolutely hated them. I thought I hated farming because I worked in them, and I came here and worked in a tie stall, and I just absolutely love it. The cows are much cleaner in my opinion. They're much happier. They enjoy coming in. Cows in a parlor do not enjoy coming in, unless they feed them in a parlor, which not many people do. They enjoy coming in here because they get their food, they get to relax a little bit, they lay down, they just like coming in here. Plus cows from a tie stall are like extremely friendly, and cows from a parlor like act like you're gonna murder them if you try to pet them. And I really enjoy that about these cows. Super friendly. I mean, you can pet them. She's mad right now because I'm not feeding her, but I wanted to show you guys how I would actually go about milking the cow in the tie stall line. First of all, you want to hold the tail. I wet cloth down with iodine. She's not very dirty. So I'll wipe each of the feet really well, and then I'll usually go back and do them again. Then I'll strip out a little bit of milk out of each quarter, and now she's ready to put the machine on. This cow is so done, you can tell that you can't see any more milk coming out through this line, and the bag's kind of deflated. So I'll just pull the button out, which stops the airflow, and pull it off. Suck it up a little bit so it doesn't lose all the milk out of the inflation. We'll just poke over for this cow. Flip the machine upside down, press this button so it starts sucking. Hold on to it, and press push. Keep going on. And then let go. And adjust it so it's about the right height. And then in 4 or 5 minutes, we'll be done. So yeah, that's how you do it. And we'll milk all the way up through and we'll get done. We'll let the cows out and we'll clean out. We'll put the milk room back together exactly the way it was before. We'll run another heavy-duty soap wash instead of the acid. And we'll bed the barn and then we'll be done and ready for the nighttime milking. Yeah, so that's how it is in a tie-stall barn. A parlor is obviously a slightly different situation. But this is how it's done the old-fashioned way, I guess you would say. So yeah, so the milk truck will come on days like today. It comes every other day, as I said, and they will take the milk, put it on the truck. I think it can sit for like 24 hours in the truck, I believe, because they are insulated and just as cold as the milk tank. And then they take them, to the processing facility and make it into milk, cottage cheese, yogurt, whatever. They fortify it now with like vitamin D, and then it will head to you guys at the grocery store. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you enjoyed watching, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. So I'll see you in next week's video. Bye!